In my last video, Why Your Manifestations Don't Work, I promised you I'd go deeper on something called parts work. This is probably the most practical thing I've ever shared on this channel. Because understanding parts work didn't just change how I think about myself, it changed what I was actually able to create in my life. So, let's get into it. Parts work is the idea that you are not one unified person, you're more like a committee, a collection of inner voices, perspectives, and sub-personalities, each with their own agenda, their own fears, their own way of trying to keep you safe. And when those parts are in conflict with each other, that internal war shows up in your life as stuckness, self-sabotage, and blocked manifestations. This approach has been used in various forms across psychology and personal development for decades. The approach we'll use here is experiential. Instead of analyzing your parts from a distance or think about them, you'll actually feel them and talk to them. And that distinction matters more than almost anything else in this work. Here's what most people don't realize. Your parts aren't broken. They were created to help you. Every part formed at a specific moment in your life, usually childhood, when you needed a strategy to cope, to survive, to be loved, or to avoid pain. A part that makes you an overachiever is probably formed when you learned that love was conditional on performance. Another part that makes you self-sabotage is probably formed to protect you from the pain of trying and failing. These parts were smart. They made sense at the time. The problem is, these parts don't update. They keep running the same old program, even when you're no longer that child who needed them. So a protector part that once kept you safe from rejection is now the same voice telling you not to launch the business, not to put yourself out there, not to want too much. That's the conflict, and that's exactly what parts work resolves. Let me give you 5 parts that come up most often. See if you recognize any of these in yourself. The inner critic, loud, constant, relentless. It says, "You're not enough. Who do you think you are?" You'll notice it as perfectionism, shame, or the feeling that you need to do more before you deserve anything. The protector controls, micromanages, stays hypervigilant. Its inner sentence is, "If I stay in control, nothing bad can happen." It shows up as anxiety, rigidity, or the inability to trust. The vulnerable child, the part that withdraws, shuts down, or goes quiet when things feel unsafe. It says, "I'm too much. It's safer if I disappear." The achiever, always doing, always optimizing, always producing. When it's a part rather than a choice, it says, "My worth is what I produce." Rest feels like a threat to this part. And the saboteur, sneaky, it procrastinates, creates chaos right before a breakthrough, or convinces you to quit when you're close. It says, "Don't even try. It's going to hurt anyway." One or more of these probably just made you uncomfortable. Good. That discomfort is recognition. Let me share 2 examples from my own life. I moved to a foreign country, and I needed to make friends, to date, to build a social life from scratch. My whole life I'd identified as an introvert, but something deeper was going on. When I pushed myself to socialize, my face would freeze when I wanted to smile. I'd get anxious at events. I'd convince myself that a coffee tasting, a beach concert, a dance class, volunteering, that none of it was worth my time. I'd walk fast so I wouldn't have the chance to talk to a stranger. And when I looked at my schedule, I realized I had unconsciously shifted all of my solo work to the exact hours I could have been meeting people, and then wondered why I never had time to socialize. I had control over my work hours. I could have prioritized it any time, but a part of me was doing everything in its power to make sure I didn't. That part wasn't lazy, it wasn't antisocial, it was protecting me from something. And parts work is what helped me find out what. The second example I used to compete in tennis tournaments, and like most athletes, there's always some gap between practice and competition. That's normal. But for me, the gap was extreme. In practice, I played at a solid intermediate level. In tournaments, it was like I'd never held a racket. My body completely stiffened. My skills evaporated. I figured out eventually that I had a part that was actively preventing me from succeeding, not because it wanted me to fail, but because it feared success. Specifically, it feared being put on a pedestal. And here's where it gets deep. Through later work, trauma work, shadow work, which I'll cover in an upcoming video, I traced that part back to a moment in second grade. I was the model student, well-behaved, high-achieving. One day, my mother told my teachers I wasn't as well-behaved at home, and their reaction was visible disappointment, a shock. In that moment, my system created a part whose job was to make sure I never exceeded a certain level of success, so I'd never again face that kind of fall from grace. That part was doing its job perfectly. In tennis, in life, everywhere. Now, how do you actually do this? There are a few ways to work with your parts. The most powerful way, especially when you're new to this, is physically switching chairs. You set up two chairs next to each other like this. Sit in one, become that part, then physically move to the other. I know that sounds a little strange. Trust me on this. The body knows things the mind doesn't. Movement helps you actually inhabit a part, rather than just observe it from a distance. And, this is critical, every time you leave a chair, you are leaving that part behind. You are not carrying it with you. That physical act of standing up and stepping away is part of how you stay grounded and don't get lost. You can make the dialogue in your imagination. You can also do it on paper, writing from each part's perspective as if it's speaking. And lately, I've been using an app called Antar, free, not an affiliate, I just genuinely like it. You create the parts and chat with them. Basically, you talking to yourself as that part. It's surprisingly effective for check-ins between deeper sessions. One more thing before we get into the process. Remember that throughout all of this, you are the coordinator. You are not any of these parts. You are the one holding space for all of them, observing, facilitating. You are bigger than any single part that comes up. And never forget that, especially if a part feels overwhelming. Here's the process, step by step. Step 1. Identify the conflict. Find two opposing parts, a part that wants something and a part that's resisting it. Be specific. Don't stay abstract. A part that wants to be seen and a part that keeps me invisible. Something like that. Step 2. Set up the chairs. Two chairs next to each other, as shown. Each chair is one part. That's all the setup you need. Step 3. Embody the first part. Sit in the first chair and become that part. Not think about it, become it. Speak from it. Ask it, how does it feel in your body right now? How old is it? Does it have a gender? What's its job? What does it think about you, the person it lives inside? What is it trying to protect you from? And here's an important note on how to ask these questions. Try not to think the answers. Try to channel them. Say whatever comes to your mind first, before your conscious brain has a chance to edit it. It might feel like you're making it up at first, but with practice, you'll start to notice when something is coming from deeper than your thinking mind. That's when the real work begins. Let the part speak. Let it vent. Don't rush it. Step 4. Move to the center point. Stand up. Move to the space between the two chairs. This is the step most people skip, and it is the most important one. Look back at the chair you just left as if the part is still sitting there. This center point is you, the observer, the coordinator, the one who contains all the parts. From here, you're not any part. You're bigger than all of them. Notice how the part looks from the outside. Does it seem small? Scared? Does it remind you of anyone from your past? Every time you move between chairs, you pass through the center. Every time. This is what keeps you from getting lost between the parts. Step 5. Embody the second part. Move to the second chair, same process. Become this part, feel it in your body, understand its perspective, its fears, and, importantly, how it feels about the first part. Step 6. Facilitate the conversation. Move back and forth between the chairs, always through the center, and let the parts speak to each other. You're the mediator. You're not trying to force a compromise. You're looking for a resolution where both parts feel genuinely seen and safe. Step 7. Integration. This is where things get beautiful, and it looks different every time. Some parts, once they feel understood, naturally soften and shift roles. They don't disappear, they transform. A protector might realize it no longer needs to be on guard in the same way, and it chooses a new function. Some parts decide to leave, and when they do, you can create a small ceremony for that. A visualization of them dissolving, stepping into light, or simply choosing to go. Whatever feels true in the moment for that part. Some parts choose to merge with you, or with other parts. That often comes with a physical sensation, like a release in the chest or a deep exhale. There's no one right way. What matters is that the part has been heard fully, and that it chooses what comes next. Not you, the part itself. I want to be very clear about something before you try this. We are not here to fix these parts or to fight them. That framing will not work, and it misses the entire point. These parts formed because at some critical moment, someone didn't understand you. Someone told you through words or actions, or simply by not being present, that your feelings were too much, or not valid, or didn't matter. So if you come into this work trying to get rid of a part, you are repeating exactly what created it in the first place. And the part knows. It will close off. It will resist harder because it has seen this before. These parts need what they've always needed, is to be understood unconditionally, without a timer running or any agenda. Some parts will take a long time to open up, and that's okay. Give them all the time they need. Show them through your patience and your curiosity that you are different from the adults in their lives who rushed them or dismissed them, that you are here and you are not leaving until they feel heard. That is the work, and when a part finally feels that, really feels it, the shift that happens is unlike anything else you've experienced. In the next video, I'll do a full guided parts work session so you can actually experience the process in real time. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. So, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell me about your experience with this. What showed up? What are you trying to integrate? I read every single one. And trust the process. Every step you take in this work brings you closer to who you truly are. And now, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.